Hi everyone, I'm Jose Luis Ortiz and I'm going to present the case number 1, Starting Right Corporation. For this case study, I'm used the following decision analysis tools, which are Maximax. This is used for optimistic decisions. This means that of all the alternatives of the states of nature, you will always choose the highest value. The Maximin is the contrary to the previous one. This is for pessimistic decisions. So we are going to choose the most pessimistic options from the states of nature, and from those we will choose the best. Equally likely, for each state of nature we will have the same odds. Expect monetary value. We will have different probabilities for each state of nature. The case study, Starting Right Corporation. After watching a movie about a young woman who quit a successful corporate career to start her own baby food company, Julia Day decided that she wanted to do the same. In the movie, the baby food company was very successful. Julia knew, however, that it is much easier to make a movie about a successful woman starting her own company than to actually do it. The product had to be of the highest quality, and Julia had to get the best people involved to launch the new company. Julia resigned from her job and launched her new company, Starting Right. Julia decided to target the upper end of the baby food market by producing baby food that contained no preservatives but had a great taste. Although the price would be slightly higher than from exciting baby food, Julia believed that parents would be willing to pay more for a high-quality baby food instead of putting baby food in jars, which would require preservatives to stabilize the food. Julia decided to try the new approach. The baby food would be frozen. This would allow for natural ingredients, no preservatives, and outstanding nutrition. Getting good people to work for new company was also important. Julia decided to find people with experience in finance, marketing, and production to get involved with Starting Right. With her enthusiasm and charisma, Julia was able to find such a group. Their first step was to develop prototypes of the new frozen baby food and to perform a small pilot test of the new product. The pilot test received rave reviews. The final key to getting the young company off to a good start was to raise funds. Three options were considered: corporate bonds, preferred stocks, and common stocks. Julia decided that each investment should be in blocks of 30,000. Furthermore, each investor should have an annual income of at least 40,000 and a net worth of 100,000 to be eligible to invest in Starting Right. Corporate bonds would return 13% per year for the next 5 years. Julia furthermore guaranteed that investors in the corporate bonds would get at least 20,000 back at the end of 5 years. Investors in preferred stocks should see their initial investment increase by a factor of 4 with a good market, or see the investment worth only half of the initial investment with an unfavorable market or bad market. The common stock had the greatest potential. The initial investment was expected to increase by a factor of 8 with a good market, but investors would lose everything if the market was unfavorable. During the next 5 years, it was expected that inflation would increase by a factor of 4.5% each year. Okay, and this is the solution. And the first case is to create a table of the state of natures. For this, we realize that we have two states of natures that are good market and bad market. The market is in good condition and the market is in poor condition. The next thing we observe is that we have four alternatives. Do not invest, invest in bonds, invest in preferred shares, and invest in common shares. To get the data from the table, we must bear in mind that the investments have to be made in blocks of 30,000 to get the two data, not invest. For bonds, we can see that they have a 13% return in the first 5 years, and that is why we are going to multiply the 30,000 times 1.13 raised to 5 power for the good market. And for the bad market, we see in the text that those who invest in bonds, they will earn at least 20,000. So we subtract the amount of this investment from this value, obtaining minus 10,000. For preferred shares, it tells us that the value will increase by a factor of 4 in the good market. So we will multiply 30,000 times 4. And for the bad market, it indicates that we are going to lose half of the investment. So we divide minus 30,000 between 2 because it's the half. And the result is minus 15,000. For common stocks, in the good market, it tells us to increase the value by a factor of 8. It's the same than the preferred stocks. So we will multiply 30,000 times 8. And for the bad market, we will lose all the investment, and thus we have a negative value of minus 30,000. The solve to the following questions, we need to create the tables of the topics I already mentioned. We start with Maximax, and we are just going to take the highest values from our first table. This is the first table, and this is the Maximax. This is our highest value. Is in common stocks. We continue with Maximin. In this is the opposite of the previous one, and we will only take the lowest value of the 4 alternatives. We take the bad market, and we take the best one. It is not invest because you don't lose anything. We continue with equally likely table. In this procedure, it must be with the same probability that one or the other events occurs. Our probability is 50-50, 50 for good market and 50 for bad market, since we only have two states of nature. Now we are going to multiply the values of each state of nature for the probability that there is a good market probability. I add it, and so for it's the same for all alternatives. The bonds is for okay, and finally we have the A and B table. The procedure of this is the same as the previous table, except that in the questions they tell us that we need at 11% of probability that there is a good market. It's 11% in good market, and therefore the complement will be 89% in the bad market. So we have the same procedure. Is the alternatives times the probability. This is the complement, and we have the plus. And here we have the questions of the case. The first one is Shupansky, a retired elementary school teacher, is considering investing in the starting right. She is very conservative and is a risk avoider. What do you recommend? Shupansky doesn't like risk, so she have to take the Maximin decision. We have the table of Maximin. That's why she shouldn't invest in the company. Second, Ray Khan, who is currently a commodities broker, is also considering an investment, although he believes that there is only an 11% chance of success. What do you recommend? And we have the table of A and B and the probability of 11. Ray Khan is using a probability of 11. The best decision of him is not invest. The third question is Laila Battle has decided to invest in starting right. While she believes that Julia has a good chance of being successful, Laila is a risk avoider and very conservative. What is your advice to Laila? Laila is the same of Supansky. They are a risk avoider and very conservative. So the best decision for her is not invest. And fourth one is George Yates believes that there is an equally likely chance for success. What is your recommendation? The equally likely is this table is the 50-50, 50 good market and 50 bad market. So the best option for him is invest in common stocks. Next one is Peter Metarko is extremely optimistic about the market for the new baby food. What is your advice for Pete? Peter Metarko is very optimistic. We can use the table of Maximax, and he should invest in common stocks. And the last question is Julia Day has been told that developing the legal documents for each fundraising alternative is expensive. Julia would like to offer alternatives for both risk-averse and risk-seeking investors. Can Julia delete one of the financial alternatives and still offer investment choices for risk seekers and risk avoiders? Okay, Julia, they can remove preferred stocks. Here in the tables, we can see we don't have preferred stocks. And she can offer common stocks for people who like risk and do nothing or invest in bonds for people who avoid risk. And that's all. Thank you for your attention and have a good day.